test tool Python. So dear participants, make use of this opportunity so that it will be highly useful for your future career. So with this, I congratulate all the resource persons. Here the resource persons are the faculty members of our CSE department. This shows that almost all the faculty members are eligible and well qualified. So once again, I take this opportunity to congratulate the Department of CSE and the faculty members for their tireless effort to make this program a success. And with this, my best wishes for the successful conduct of this program. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now, welcoming the resource person, let's have a brief introduction about our HOD ma'am. It gives me a great pleasure to introduce the resource person of today's session, Dr. Kalaimani Shanmugam, Professor and HOD, Department of Computer Science Engineering, Aras Engineering College, Kumbakonam, Tamil Nadu. She completed her PhD in Anna University and specialized in deep learning. She did her PG in Shastra University. She did her UG in Periyar Maniammai College of Technology for Women. Overall, 16 years of experience in teaching. Her area of interest are machine learning, big data analytics, information retrieval. Ma'am has organized more than 25 programs, published more than 20 papers in various international journals and 25 papers in various national and international conferences. Ma'am guided many projects for both UG and the PG students and received Best Guide Award from IET, Smart India Hackathon, ICT, etc. Ma'am acted as a resource person for 2 programs, short-term training program, now a machine learning with a Python using COVID-19 data analysis. Now I hand over the session to the ma'am. Ma'am, welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you, Divya. So, good morning to all the participants. So, I would render my thankfulness to our management of Arasu Engineering College and the principal of our college and all the faculty members of Computer Science and Engineering Department for giving me an opportunity to present you about some of the concepts with respect to machine learning using Python. So, I'm very much glad to present you. So first, we are going to have the session for 3 days. So it is a program is designed for 3 days to discuss about the machine learning concepts and various algorithms using Python. For this, we have taken a COVID-19 data analysis. So I hope the session would be very useful to you, and it will be very much purposeful for the young students as well as professionals and for beginners. So with this, let me start my program. So the first thing, so what are the things I'm going to discuss? Okay. So myself, Dr. Kalaimani Shanmugam, that was already introduced by Divya. So the outline of the today's program. So we are going to discuss about, so before getting into the machine learning, so why we have chosen this title is very, very important. So today, the science and technology is increasing, and it almost changes the every aspects of our life. So that is every step of the human life is depending upon the science and technology. So one of the predominant technology is machine learning, which is almost part and parcel of our life. So we are making use of many number of applications, but we don't know how these kind of applications are user-friendly applications are going to support us. So the behind the screen, there is a abundant growth of the machine learning. So the machine learning serves as a significant role for the sophisticated application development, and moreover, it is a user-friendly environment is going to be given by the machine learning that helps the user in their day-to-day activities. So that kind of importance is with respect to the machine learning. So there are a lot of advancements in the machine learning. So in today's session, we are going to discuss about certain concepts with respect to machine learning. We are going to discuss with an introduction about the machine learning, and how the machine learning is going to be related with artificial intelligence and deep learning, and what are all the related areas of the machine learning, and how the machine learning is going to be integrated with the big data analytics. And we are going to discuss with some of the real world applications of machine learning. And also, we are trying to focus the different types of machine learning algorithms available. And we are going to focus what are all the algorithms present in the machine learning. And I'm going to cover two important algorithm, that is naive-based classification algorithm for a supervised machine learning, and K-means clustering algorithm for unsupervised machine learning. And finally, I conclude my session with the design of a machine learning model. This was the content I'm going to cover today. So I hope the participants will be comfortable to hear my lecture. Okay, I'll start my lecture. So coming to the introduction about the machine learning. So that is, first of all, we want to know about what is learning. So learning is a process by which a system improves performance from experience. So learning may be in any system that automatically improves its performance through the experience. That is a learning. So from the learning, how we are going to define machine learning that was proposed by Herbert Simon. So machine learning is concerned with the computer programs that automatically improve their performance through experience. So that is any particular automation of program that improves its performance through the experience it has gained. That is nothing but a definition of a machine learning. So what is meant by learning? So normally when we talk about the designing of a learning, any particular task, okay, so if you take, so that particular task will be, when we perform some task, it improves. Okay, so the improvement will be with respect to the performance, and with the performance will be improved based upon the experience E. So that is nothing but the learning task. So whatever the task we are going to take, there are many number of real world tasks we are going to have. So any task, if we consider three different parameters, we are going to know, we must know, that is nothing but the task T and the performance P and E, that is experience. So these three parameters are very, very important for learning. So normally how the system will improve through the experience. So normally any system will acquire a knowledge. So any fact can be acquired, any new skills can be acquired. So a new knowledge can be discovered by the system through by means of the environment, or based upon some application or a task. The system have an ability to acquire a new knowledge, and also the system should have an ability to adapt its behavior. So the behavior should be adapted. So normally any particular problem should be solved by a machine more accurately. So the accuracy of problem solving is very, very important thing. Another thing, solving a problem more efficiently. So by means of adapting its behavior, the accuracy and the efficiency of the problem may be improved, solving the problem may be improved. So these are the basic concepts of the learning. So where this machine learning is going to be defined like this. Coming to the task. So we will, the previous slide we were discussing about what is a definition of the machine learning. So we will take some examples for the learning task. So I have taken here three different examples. For example, if you take a playing a chess, so the task assigned is nothing but playing checkers. So we are going to play chess. So for that, what kind of performance measure we are taking is percentage of games won against arbitrary opponent. Whenever the two competitors are playing a chess, so what kind of what percentage of the games won by the person is going to be a performance measure, and experience how the competitors are going to gain their experience is nothing but playing a practice games against itself. So these are the some of the learning tasks. So another task, if we take, that is recognition of handwritten words. So how the task assigned to the system is a recognition of handwritten words. So what kind of performance measure we are going to take is what is the percentage of words correctly classified. So we are trying to classify the handwritten words. So how much percentage of words are correctly classified is going to be a performance measure, and experience, how we are going to recognize the handwritten words by means of database of human labeled images of handwritten words. So many number of handwritten words are used for training. Okay, well, in order to recognize the handwritten words. So that kind of experience any such system should undergo. And then another task, if I take, that is the task is categorizing email messages as a spam or legitimate. So when we want to discriminate a good mail, that is spam and legitimate mail, that is a task assigned to the system. The system should have an ability to access the database of an email, so that based upon the given labels. So the system will be trained based upon the label assigned to the set of emails, based upon the email and its label. So how much percentage of email messages are correctly classified? So we are trying to calculate the performance with respect to accuracy of the classification. So these are the some of the learning tasks any particular machine learning has to undergo. So there are n number of tasks that may be carried out by a machine learning algorithms. So these are the some of the tasks I have taken here. So next thing we will talk about well, there are several dimensions of the machine learning. Okay, so when we talk about the machine learning, it could be understood through 4 progressive lenses. So broadly, how we can define the machine learning. So we are going to define a machine learning that is it's a process of predicting things, usually based on what we have done in the past. So broadly, how we are going to define a machine learning is nothing but process of predicting a things. So we are trying to predict some things based upon the experience we had in the past. That is a broad definition of a machine learning. And practically, we are trying to find out the relationship in the data that will help us to predict what happened next. So that is the practically we are going to define a machine learning. So we try to discover what kind of relationship exists between the data. Accordingly, we are going to predict what will happen in the next. So that is a practical definition of your machine learning. And technically speaking, machine learning uses a statistical methods to predict the value of the target variables using a set of input data. So we are trying to use some sort of statistical methods, probabilistic method, to predict the target variable, that is predict the outcome, okay, using a given set of input data. So technically we are defining a machine learning like this. And when we come to the mathematical definition of a machine learning, so it attempts to predict the value of a variable y given an input of feature set x. So for any set of features, x, input features, we try to predict the value of y. So x and y are going to be an independent variable through which we are going to predict the y value from the x. So these are the very basic definition of one second. So now I think you are clear about what is machine learning, and with the different aspects of the machine learning we have studied. Next, we will talk about how machine learning, what is the artificial intelligence, and how versus artificial intelligence versus machine learning versus deep learning. So how that is what is meant by artificial intelligence. So we all know that artificial intelligence is a very broad area in a computer domain, which is going to be helpful for all our day-to-day activities. So what is meant by artificial intelligence? So it is a science, so like a mathematics or biology. Okay, so we are trying to the artificial intelligence will study the way to build an intelligent programs. So we are going to create an intelligent programs through the artificial intelligence, and the machines can have a creativity to solve the complex problems. So that is nothing but an artificial intelligence. So we are making a machine to solve the complex and creative problems. So that is a artificial intelligence. It was one of the oldest areas of our computer domain. So from that artificial intelligence, so a derived term is machine learning. So machine learning is going to be one of the sub area of the artificial intelligence. So it is a that is it provides a system the ability to automatically learn and improve from the experience without being explicitly programmed. So machine learning is one of the sub area of artificial intelligence that automatically learn and improve from experience. So that is nothing but a machine learning. And then if you see this diagram, so we can see that artificial intelligence is a very major domain through from which a machine learning is a subset of your artificial intelligence. So whatever the applications that was developed using artificial intelligence, automatically it will lead to the machine learning. So another important technology is nothing but a deep learning. Of course, everybody will know the deep learning is a very important and play a very important and significant role in current technologies. So what is deep learning? So it is nothing but a subset of machine learning, which uses a neural network to analyze the different factors with a structure that is similar to the human neural system. So here, deep learning mimics the human neural system. So the human behavior and the human activities are going to be modeled by means of a deep learning through a very basic component that is nothing but a neural network. So a lot of applications are developed using a deep learning. So it is one of the important booming technology. It is one of the important technology nowadays used. So this kind of relationship exists. Now we are clear with what is artificial intelligence, what is machine learning, and what is deep learning. So all these three domains are very common thing, and all are subset of each other. So that is nothing but your thing. And then next. Okay, so what are the related areas of machine learning? So we know that our center of focus is machine learning, so through which many different areas are interlinked. So the one of the important area in which machine learning is going to be applied is the data mining. So data mining, of course, we know that how we are going to discover a new knowledge from an existing data. So whenever a structured data is given as an input, so we are trying to discover a knowledge from those structured data. The process of knowledge discovery, we are going to say the data mining. So of course, for knowledge discovery, many number of machine learning algorithms are used in the data mining. Okay, so many number of applications are also created using a data mining. Another important domain in which machine learning plays a very major role is an image processing. So for face recognition, for signal processing, so many number of image processing applications, we can able to use this machine learning. Okay, and the next one is for image transformation or image enhancement or prediction of some new image. So we can make use of the machine learning. And then decision theory. So for any company go with a decision theory. So whenever we want to take a decision for any particular complex problem, then we can apply a machine learning technique in that situation. And then another one of the important big areas is big data analytics. So today, many of the companies are handling the amount of data is growing tremendously in the company. So they are involved with many number of data. We try to analyze the meaningful data with respect to the data analytics. For that, we can integrate this machine learning with the big data analytics. Another important area is an NLP, that is natural language processing. So here, when we want to perform a cross-lingual operation, such as when we want to transform one language to content of one language to another language, for example, English to Tamil, or when we go for any other languages, we can make use of this natural language processing, where the language models are used. And then NLP is also used for many number of text mining tasks that is used in the Google search engine. So for that, we can apply the machine learning for prediction of languages and text. And then evolutionary models. So machine learning will also be used for evolutionary models such as genome analysis, and for example for genetic algorithms may be used using this machine learning technique for many number of applications. Medical applications it may be used. And then a very common thing is a database application. Machine learning can be applied for extracting a meaningful information from a large database that is scattered over the internet. And we can also make use of information theory. So information, it's a very important word. We want to speak about how the information is getting processed and how the information security can be provided. So any kind of information, we are trying to model the information theory based upon the machine learning techniques. And finally we go with the statistics. So statistics are a probabilistic based mathematical technique where we can make use of the machine learning to do some to solve some complex applications. So here I have represented only a few areas. There are n number of areas that are related with machine learning. Okay, next. We will see about how the machine learning is going to be linked with big data analytics. So we all know that the data science engineers are nowadays wanted for many of the company. They are paid more. So any particular data science engineer, they are specialists in the big data analytics as well as the machine learning. So what is meant by big data? So big data is nothing but a collection of large and complex data set that are difficult to store and process using traditional database management system and processing applications. So whenever there are large and complex data sets are available, okay, terabytes of data are available, it is very much difficult to store and process those data by means of a complex database management system. So in that situation, we need a technology called big data for handling that kind of large and complex data sets, mainly for many number of applications. So the main challenges involved with the big data are capturing of data from different sources and how the data is being sorted and how we are going to search a particular data from the large databases, and sharing of data, transferring, and of course analyzing and visualizing the data. These are some of the challenges involved with respect to the big data. So we are in the position to do all these such activities with the help of the machine learning algorithms. So coming to the characteristics of big data, so the volume. So we are going to say that our 4 V's or 5 V's. So here our big data is involved with 5 V's. So volume, velocity, variety, veracity, and value. So these are the 5 V's that defines the characteristics of any big data. So what is meant by a volume? So any particular company, if you take, there are large amount of information and data is being processed. So normally a company may be using a petabytes of data. So how that kind of data is going to be handled? So we want to deal with what is the volume of the data. So the volume, the gravitas of the term big data owns is because of its volume. So volume is because of its volume only, we are going to call the database as a big data. Coming to the velocity, the superiority of processing data with high accuracy and the speed. So what is the speed and accuracy of particular processing? So how we are going to improve our processing speed by means of its accuracy, because large amount of data is going to be processed. So we want to deal with the velocity of the data for measuring the accuracy and the speed. And then also your big data, if you take, it is going to cover different varieties of data such as structured, unstructured, and semi-structured data. So structured in the sense that the data will be organized in a database or a formal structure is given to the data. For example, employee details, so payroll information. So these kind of data are going to be in a structured form. And we are also dealing with some sort of unstructured data such as images, document files, some PDF files, some audio. These kind of informations, there won't be any prescribed structuring with respect to the data. How these kind of unstructured data is going to be processed by means of your big data analytics. It is one of the challenging tasks. And a semi-supervised is nothing but whenever the structured and unstructured data is going to be combined. For example, if you take an email message, automatically it will have any email will be having both structured as well as the unstructured information with this. And even if you take a patent, the patent may also have some sort of structured and unstructured information with it. So that is nothing but a variety. So many number of data is going to be handled with respect to big data analytics and veracity. So how far we are going to measure the quality and the consistency of the data. So normally we want, even though there are many data are available, only few data is going to be meaningful to any particular, for solving any particular task. So in that aspect, we need to worry about the quality and the consistency of data. And next V stands for the value. So how, that is nothing but how the useful data is going to be generated. Okay, so finally, what is the final outcome of your model? So that is nothing but the prediction of the useful data. So value of the data. So these are all the some of the basic characteristics of big data analytics. So how the big data is collected, how the different sources of data is being generated. So for that, there are variety of sources are available globally. So some of the sources where we can generate big data is nothing but a social media. So in the social media, if you take a Twitter, if you take a Facebook, or if you take a Wikipedia, any type of social media, if you take, there are a lot of data are available. So we can able to extract those data from the social media, even a YouTube. So many number of social media through from which we can collect the data. And then third party cloud storage, even we can make use of the cloud technology where our data is being outsourced. So we can able to extract data from the cloud and even from the online web pages, and then from IoT. IoT nowadays play a very predominant role for sensor based applications, almost in the medical field and agricultural field. The IoT is playing a very major role. So how the data is being processed, how the data is being collected, and it is going to be effectively utilized for developing an application that will be done by means of the big data analytics. So with this basic definition of big data analytics, we try to cover how this big data analytics is going to be integrated with machine learning. So how we are going to incorporate our machine learning techniques with respect to big data analytics. So I think I'm not very fast. Can you able to understand my voice? Okay. Coming to the integration of machine learning with big data analytics. So how here we also know that machine learning is an automated data processing and decision making. We can give many number of definitions for machine learning. So almost when we talk in the perspective of data analytics, so we are going to have the machine learning as an automated data processing and decision making algorithm. Normally it is designed to improve every stage of their assigned task based upon their experience. So here we are going to call that as an evolved through learning. So any type of data processing and decision making can be done by means of a machine learning, and it will improve its performance through experience, that is evolved through learning. So this particular machine learning technique or algorithm can be applied to every element of the big data operations, including data analytics. So data analytics in the sense that how the data is being stored, processed, and segmented, and how it is being transformed. How if in every case we are going to apply the machine learning algorithms for the data analytics. Even for a simulation modeling, we can apply a machine learning algorithm with respect to the big data. And then most of the companies nowadays, if you take Google, large number of web content they are going to handle, and then many number of applications are supported by Google, and even a YouTube, Amazon, Netflix, Spotify, many other companies normally collect and analyze user interaction data with their platforms. So here these are the highly profitable companies. They are often collecting and analyzing the user interaction data in order to generate a profit through the user interactions. So for that, we need a machine learning algorithm to be incorporated with big data. So since Google, YouTube, Amazon, these are the applications normally handling many number of data. Not only the user interaction data, they may be having many number of product data or any type of service data they may be handling. So for this, machine learning algorithms or model are used to predict the user demand, their taste and other behavior patterns of many number of applications. So of course, the machine learning algorithms are very, very important, and it is play a very significant role with respect to big data analytics. So for the success of the many number of companies, leading companies. And then coming to the use cases. Okay, so while trying to integrate our machine learning with big data analytics, so here I have taken several number of use cases how machine learning is integrated with big data analytics. So the first one is market research and target audience segmentation. It is one of the major task or a major application that is being implemented in many of the organizations, especially to find out the target audience. So for all the audience of a particular company, so we try audience here is nothing but clients or customers, those who are visiting any particular company, or they are going to purchase a product through some sort of web services. So what is the pattern of their behavior? So who are all the target audience we try to capture, and what are the patterns of the behavior, and what are all the preferences of the different types of customers. So these kind of information we need, certain type of segmentation is required. So it is one of the market research activity that is normally implemented with respect to the company to improve one of the market strategy for improving their market level. So in the supply chain management, this kind of target audience segmentations are very, very important. So another important use case, if you take is a recommendation system. So of course, if you take Facebook, so we all know that when there are images are given, many number of images, your system automatically find out the name of the person. So that is one of the important how the face is being recognized. Okay, we need not want to talk about that Facebook. For example, if you take even in the Facebook, suppose if you are going to chat with a particular person, okay, so if you are going to discuss with some social event, so it will be the related social events will be recommended to you. So if you are going to access some journal, the similar journal will be recommended to you. And then that is also, if you take a Netflix, of course we are going to make use of the Netflix for downloading movies. So the same the movie with the same genre or same actor will be recommended to you. So these kind of recommendations, of course, we are seeing in day-to-day life. If you take an Amazon for doing an e-commerce online shopping, so automatically the Amazon will be recommending you a similar products with your, according to your preferences and the taste. So that kind of recommendation engines are going to be one of the, because for developing this kind of recommendation engines, so we need a large amount of data and we need a large amount of user interactions. So based upon the user access pattern, we are going to create a recommendation system. And many number of companies, Facebook, Netflix, Amazon, Google, are making use of this recommendation system for for recommending some of their products. So next one is important domain is predictive analytics. So here, predictive analytics is nothing but suggesting an extra products on an e-commerce platform. Again, here also, the predictive analytics is one of the technology which can be adopted for finding out extra products. So if you try to buy two products, then there is a chance for buying another product. So that kind of predictive analysis is being applied mainly in the case of the e-commerce platform, as well as the predictive analytics is going to be applied with respect to the finding out, predicting the fraudulent activity in the case of the technical projects. It is a very sensitive application where we try to find out what are the possibilities of the fraudulent activity in a technical projects, and thereby we are trying to calculate the whether we are going to determine what kind of activities are going to be fraudulent, and accordingly we are going to take an action to prevent those users, those who are indulging in a fraudulent activity. Also, the predictive analytics is used in the case of the healthcare, okay, especially to try to find out the probabilities of treatment efficiency for a specific patient. So, what kind of treatment will be suitable for a specific patient? So, this kind of predictions can be done through the predictive analytics. So, this is one of the important use case. We want to deal with many amount of data. And then next one is ad fraud, e-commerce fraud. Similarly, here when we want to recognize the patterns in the big data and accessing their credibility and watching an ad track activity and blocking the source of the fraud. So even there are many number of ad frauds are there. So there are e-commerce frauds are also there. So how the patterns are going to be recognized. So there we want to process many number of data where we need a machine learning algorithm. So the final one is a chatbot. So this is a very attractive application which is going to provide a conversational user interfaces. Almost all type of applications are going to have a chatbots where customers' preferences are going to be denoted after many number of interactions. So here the users are allowed to give their suggestions. So based upon the suggestions given by the users, their preferences can be analyzed and it can be used for many number of decision making tasks. So if you take an Amazon Alexa, so one of the chatbot, it is a conversational user interfaces that was supported by Alexa and Apple's Siri. These are all the some of the human supported interfaces we are using day to day life. And then next, coming to the applications of machine learning, and there are a n number of applications with respect to the machine learning. So out of which character recognition plays a very important role. So how the characters are being recognized, handwritten characters are recognized. So through which we can generate many number of applications with respect to the character recognition. Of course, for face recognition. So face recognition, it's mainly for security purpose, or in the case of the video surveillance, so we require a face recognition. Even with respect for setting up password for locking our mobile phones, and to find out the name of the person in the image in the Facebook. So the face recognition applications are used. So mainly this face recognition can be applied for a security related applications. And next one is a cancer cell detection automatically in the medical field. One of the important application we want to focus is a cancer cell detection. So here your machine learning algorithms are accurately finding out the cancer cell. And then spam mail classification, again legitimate and the spam mail are correctly classified using a machine learning algorithms. And sales prediction, so through the machine learning algorithm we can able to forecast what is the sales for the next 3 years. And then for text classification, so text classification, how the text is being categorized based upon their topic. So nowadays Google using this text classification for many number of applications. And audio voice interpretation, so for Amazon Alexa, so many number of user interface tools. If you take user customer assistant tool, if you take the audio voice interpretation is one of the important application where machine learning is applied. Another one is a fraud detection system, credit card fraud detection, and even in the case of network intrusion detection system. So there are a lot of frauds in the social media. So how these kind of frauds are being detected efficiently through the machine learning is one of the major application. And another the day-to-day activities, again the Amazon for email shopping, e-commerce application for online shopping. We are using a machine learning algorithm for recommendations, even for classifying our mail in a Gmail, that is social. Then so mail being classified as different categories. So for community, social, spam, how the mail are being classified. So that is also is a day-to-day activities. And Netflix for watching a movie. how the Netflix is going to recommend you a movie according to your preferences and taste. And then, of course, the Google Map is one of the important day-to-day activities we are using. So how the Google Map is going to find out the shortest distance from one location to another location by taking a traffic as an important parameter. So how these kind of activities, day-to-day activities are going to be done. That is done by means of your machine learning. And then there are several control operations where the machine learning is going to support, especially with respect to the robotics, how the robot arm movement for industrial applications. We are going to use this robot arm and self-driving cars. So for driving navigational car, so that is autonomous car implementation, we are using a driving and navigation car. For this kind of applications, we are using a control operations. And then with respect to the medical field, so normally if you take a COVID-19 data analysis, we are having there must be certain procedures for diagnosing the disease, monitoring the disease, and some sort of analysis, gene analysis are required. So medical imaging is another important with respect to the medical operations, and how the diseases are being detected using an electronic medical records. So these are some of the applications with respect to the medical domain. Even in the web retrieval, based upon the user profile, how the customer ads are going to be. So nowadays, companies are making use of the customer ads in order to attract the users based upon their profile. And then document retrieval, efficient document retrieval as an information retrieval system that is supported by means of a Google. So for such a search engine optimization, we need a document retrieval. So with these kind of applications, there machine learning is highly used. So next, coming to the types of machine learning. Okay, have you understood? Are you following my lecture? Okay. Coming to the types of machine learning. So here we are going to classify our machine learning into 3 different types. So of course, one is a supervised machine learning, unsupervised machine learning, and the third one is a reinforcement machine learning. So normally your supervised learning is a task-driven activity. So we are going to call this a supervised learning method as a task-driven method. And then your unsupervised learning is going to be a data-driven method, and reinforcement learning, we are going to have how the system is going to interact with an environment. So coming to the basic definition of a supervised learning. So your machine learning is classified, majorly classified into these 3 categories. So there are a set of algorithms with respect to supervised, unsupervised, and reinforcement learning, and that they can be applied for many number of applications. So what is a supervised learning? So here the supervised learning is defined as the process by which we are making a machine to learn the past labeled data and use that learning to make the inference about the future data. So here it is the process of making a machine. So supervised learning will provide an ability of the machine to learn the past labeled data. That is very important thing. So the data is already labeled. So that labeled data is being taken by means of your machine, and it will learn something about something from the labeled data, and accordingly it will predict the future data. So here the labeled data is going to mainly help the machine to understand what kind of how the data is being related with each other, and how the fruitful decision can be made from the data is supported by the labeling information. So with the help of the labeled data, the system will automatically learn and make the inference about the future data. So that is nothing but a supervised learning. Here the machine is going to be guided by means of labeled data, or it is guided by means of a input along with the desired output. So that is very, very important with respect to supervised learning. And the next one is an unsupervised learning. So here completely it involves with the data. So in the previous case, we involved a task. So the task has to be repeatedly executed. Okay, so until it gets a desired output, the training has to be carried out. So that is nothing but a supervised learning. In the unsupervised learning, here it is not, the machine is not guided with any number, any of the supporting information. So the machine by itself has to learn the hidden patterns in the data. So the process by which we are making a machine to learn a hidden pattern in the data without providing any labeled information. So here we are not giving any supporting information, just the data are being scattered. From that data, how the machine is going to find out the hidden patterns. So that is important with respect to the unsupervised learning. Reinforcement learning. Here, the process by which we are making a machine to learn the environment through trial and error. So the machine will be allowed to learn the environment through the trial and error method until it takes the correct decision. So many of the real life, real-time examples makes use of this reinforcement learning, where the where the correct decision has to be made. So here the machine will be interacting with an environment in a trial and error basis, and until it takes the correct decision. So these are the basic principle behind this kind of learning. We will next we will go into the much detail about the supervised learning. So when we talk about the supervised learning today, in most of the applications, so we are using this supervised learning method. So what is the main goal of this supervised learning? So the main goal is to learn a model from a labeled training data that allows us to make predictions about unseen or future data. So of course, already I have discussed that. So the labeled training data is provided to the system. Thereby, a model will make a prediction based upon the labeled training data. So the predictions are made by means of um, gaining an experience through the labeled training data. So this particular model that is generated by the supervised machine learning will be used for predicting an unseen or a future data. That is the main goal of your supervised learning method. So the input what we are going to provide is a labeled training data, that is data along with the class. So if a set of objects are provided, what is the class of that object? So we are going to provide these kind of information to our system, and the machine will automatically learn for this data, this is a class. Accordingly, it will learn, and whenever whenever the data without any label is supplied to the system must have an ability to predict the class label from the given input data. So that is nothing but a supervised machine learning. So why we are going to call that as a supervised? Because your machine is guided with an input sample and how the output should look like. This information will be already provided by the provided to the system, to the machine, and now the machine will be having some sort of idea to find out the relationship between the input and the output. Hence, we are going to call this kind of machine learning models as a supervised machine learning. So once the model is prepared, so the model will be prepared through the many number of training processes. So there are a lot of training process, because any model should learn. Okay, so repeatedly learn something through the experience only it can learn. So the model will be prepared through a many number of training processes, and that learning will be making that will be used for predictions. And then if the prediction is correct, then we can stop learning. But if the prediction is wrong, then it has to be continued until the prediction is going to be correct. So that is nothing but a training process. So the many number of training process in different types of iterations we are going to follow with respect to a training. And then also the model should also give a desired level of accuracy. So the model should generate an actual output. So the output should be whatever the desired output should be generated by our model. So that kind of accuracy we want to involve with respect to model generation. Next, of course, we know that supervised machine learning is a task oriented. Because why we are going to call this as a task oriented is the ability of the machine to learn more and more examples. So when we provide more number of samples, more number of examples, more number of trained data, that is labeled training data, if you give, then the classifier, the discriminating power of the classifier will be improved. automatically it will improve the accuracy. So that hence we are going to call that as a task oriented. So here instead of focusing on a data, how many number of times we are going to learn the system is very, very important thing. And then next coming to the diagrammatical. Now you are clear with this concepts of supervised learning. So here see this particular example, the supervised learning. We are going to give a set of inputs. So here we are given an grapes. I think it is a grapes. Okay. We are given as grapes, many number of grape images to the system. And I'm saying that these are the grapes as a label. So here it is supervised by means of some sort of labels. So here I'm going to give these are the objects and their names are grapes. So this kind of annotations I'm supplying to the model, and the model will be learning if these images appear, they are called as a grapes. This kind of information will be learned by the model, and accordingly, whenever a new image is given to the system, the model will be have an ability to predict that what is the name of that image. So it's grapes. So it will be giving some sort of prediction. This is a very simple example for a supervised learning. So this kind of example may be applied for many number of complex applications where a model is going to predict an exact class label for a thing. So here both input and output are given to the model. So the set of objects and what is a label. So what is a desired output? If these objects are given, then this is nothing but the name of the objects. So the model will be trying to analyze all these objects, and finally it will predict the name of the object. That is our outcome. Okay. So another important example, if you take that is, suppose if you take a bank transactions, so there are many number of thousands of transactions any bank are handling. So in that case, there are many number of transactions are going to be fraudulent. So how the good transaction and fraudulent transactions are going to be discriminated? So for that, we can make use of the supervised learning method to discriminate the fraudulent and non-fraudulent transactions. So nowadays, this plays the discriminating power of the model is very, very important thing. So while designing an application for a bank, then the model should have a capability to discriminate the fraudulent and non-fraudulent transaction in an efficient manner. So the accuracy is very, very important for these kind of applications. And then coming to the examples of the supervised machine learning task. So again, the supervised machine learning task can be applied for classifying a mail. So whether the mail is a good mail or spam mail when we want to class label. So here the class label is going to be a good and spam. So the mail may be a good or it may be a spam. So whether here a class label may be a, whether it is a good mail, yes. If it is not a good mail, then it is a no. Okay, or good spam. This may be a class label. And suppose if we are going to identify the risk factors or the diseases, risk factors of the diseases, that is, for example, what are all the risk factors of the diseases? We try to find out the label classes for the different types of diseases, and accordingly we will take a preventive measures, and whether the applicant can be applicant can be sanctioned with a loan or not. So whether the applicant are low risk low risk customer or high risk customer, so we can able to classify our data, whether when there are many number of loan applicants are there, we can able to classify the loan applicant based upon their income. They may be categorized as a low, they are categorized as a low risk or high risk. Okay, so for example, some people may be having the income is very low, and then they are below the age of 18, then the loan need not want to be sanctioned. So they are called as a high risk applicant. So how we are going to classify the loan applicant based upon the risk factor. And for example, when we want to predicting the house prices, so what is the market level, what are the prices for the different houses with different square meter. So that kind of predictions we can able to find out, and as well as we can predict whether or not people vote for a given candidate. So for election processing system, so whether the people will vote or not, so we can able to find out. and then whether rain will come or not. So we can able to predict this yes or no. Okay, and then we can able to predict whether the failure of predicting the failure of mechanical parts. So if some part is damaged, automatically it will lead to the failure of other part. So this kind of prediction we can involve with respect to the supervised machine learning can be applied to find out the failure of the mechanical parts. Even we can able to find out the predict the sales of the particular item in a given week. So for this forecasting information, we can apply a machine supervised machine learning task. Similarly, for diagnosing whether the patient is having a disease or not. So for a medical domain, we can apply, and we can also predict the sales of the particular item in a given week. Okay, well, I think this is repeated. Okay, sorry. And then finally, we can have a classification of the text in the social media, such as Facebook. So there are a lot of text contents are available in the Facebook. How these kind of content are going to be categorized as a political news, or it may be a social news, or it may be a sport news, or it may be an entertainment news. How these kind of informations are going to be classified here in the Facebook or Twitter, and even in the Quora. Different Quora is one of the important question answering system where the different type of questions raised by the user are going to be categorized. How this set of questions are going to be categorized. So everything will be involved by means of applying the deploying the supervised machine learning model. So I think you are clear with these are the, I have specified only a limited task. So there are n number of tasks where we can, these are the some of the tasks where very commonly supervised machine learning algorithms are used. Then now coming to the types of machine learning. So here we are going to deal with two different types of supervised machine learning technique. One is nothing but a classification. So another one is a regression. So classification, of course, almost it touches the every applications in medical domain. So we are using this classification technique for image, medical imaging. Nowadays, the classification is very commonly used. Even for a COVID-19 data analysis, we are using this classification technique. So it is one of the supervised machine learning technique where the output is going to be a discrete one. So here the output is not a continuous value, real-time value, real value. It is going to be a discrete value. So whether we want to classify the a particular cat or dog. So there are set of images given to a system. The classification must be able to categorize, classify whether it is cat or dog. That kind of prediction can be done by means of a classification. So if you take a classification, so here there are two different classes are there. So these set of objects belong to one class, and these set of objects belong to another class. So it will be the classifier will discriminate a set of objects from another set of objects. So these may be assigned with one particular class label, and many objects may be designated with another class label. So the output is normally discrete, that is yes or no, true or false, like or hate. Likewise, discrete values are going to be generated as an output. And then next coming to the regression. So regression is also one of the important method that may be applied for many number of applications. Previously, we have seen. For example, I want to find out the sales forecast. We can apply a regression technique. For example, for finding out whether good mail or spam mail, we can apply a classification technique. For example, I want to find out the ages of the customer, those who are those who can buy a laptop. So for that, I can apply the regression. Okay. So whenever the regression will generate a continuous value as an output. For example, price. So price is not a discrete value. So many number of prices. So it will be ranges from the minus infinity to plus infinity. Similarly, temperature. So it is also a continuous value. So whenever the output is decided as a continuous value, we can apply a regression. So we want to find out the relationship between any two independent variable, temperature and height. So when we want to find out the density and the size, so when we want to compare all these features, we can make use of the regression. So normally regression also there is a linear line which separates a different set of data objects. So we try to find out the error between the data objects and that linear regression line. So based upon that, we can able to include more number of data. So the regression analysis is one of the mathematical method that is applied in many number of applications. So here, if you take a classification, so we are trying to predict the categorical value, response value, where the data can be separated into specific classes. For example, label may be yes or no, a label may be like or hate, etc. And then if you take a regression, so it is a type of problem where we need to predict the continuous response value. Of course, we have seen that continuous value output will be generated by means of a regression. So for example, ranges between 18 to 35. So when we want to predict some range of values, then we can apply this regression. So we will go into detail with respect to these two methods, classification and regression. So your supervised machine learning is subdivided as a classification and regression. So what is meant by classification? So so using a Python, we can implement this classification technique with many number of algorithms. So what is meant by a classification? So classification, normally we are going to call that as a training data are accompanied by a label. So a training data may be number of observations. So it may be a medical observations or any type of observations. Even it may be a numerical measurements or any type of objects as a training data we can take. And this training data is always associated with a label indicating a class of the observation. Whenever a set of objects is given or given, along with that, the class of those objects are also specified as a training data. Now, a new data is classified based upon this training data. This is a classification task. So the classification task should have a capability to classify the new data based upon the training data given to it. Okay, so what is my main goal of a classification? So the classification is normally used to predict the categorical class labels. So we know that it is a discrete class label for new instances based upon the past observation. For example, if you are given with a collection of labeled documents, so we are given with a document, set of documents, that is web documents if you take. So if we were provided with a many number of web documents, and each and every document having a many number of terms, features, we are going to call that as a features, and each and every document will be having their own topics, so we are going to call that as a classes. So algorithm, there is a classification technique, we learn that labeled documents based upon their features, based upon their terms and their topic, it will learn. So the classification algorithm will learn this training set, and based upon the information it has learned, it will try to find out a topic of a new document submitted to it. For example, a document, there are 10 documents are given to you. So the 10 documents, some documents are related with the sports, 3 documents are related with the politics, and some other documents are related with the entertainment. So these kind of informations are fed to the system, and the system, the classification system must be able to discriminate whether this set of documents belong to a politics or this set of documents are belonging to the sports. This kind of discriminating power will be generated by the classifier. So a model has to be generated to find out the class as a function of the values of the features. So for a set of terms, here features are the set of terms. So for that, if these features are existing, then that is the class, the appropriate class has to be determined for the set of features. So this kind of information will be learned by the system. So whenever previously unseen documents are assigned as a class, okay, whenever the unseen documents are submitted to the system, so a proper appropriate class has to be generated. Class has to be predicted by a system. So that kind of facility should be provided by means of a classification system. So I think you understood about the classification system. So here we are provided with a training set. The training set will be having a collection of objects or a collection of documents. Along with that, we are going to give a class label, that is topic. If you take a document, topic is given. If this document is provided, so based upon the feature terms available in the document, the topic has to be find out. Politics means document will be having Narendra Modi, and then the parliament. That some sort of features will be involved with that kind of documents. So if these set of features available in the document, then the topic is politics. If the document contains cricket, ball, bat, some other score. If these terms are available in the document, the system must be able to classify these documents as a scores. So likewise, the system, the model will be generated, classification model will be generated by means of this set of information, and accordingly, whenever a new document is submitted, so whatever the information it has learned, it can accurately predict the topic of the particular document. So here the classification, when as far as classification methods are concerned, here we are going to have two different types of classification. One is a binary classification, another one is a multi-class classification. So binary classification, so here whenever your outcome of your classification model is only discrete, that is only two values, yes or no, only two possible outcomes are there. For example, if a mail may be good mail or spam mail, whether the mail is a spam or not, yes or no. So two different class labels are there. Will it rain today or not, yes or no? If the picture is cat or not. Okay, so likewise only two different class labels are possible outcomes of a model means, then we are going to call that as a binary classification. And multi-class classification means, so whenever the possible outcomes are going to be more than two. For example, if we want to identify the language, so if some number of audio messages are given, audio contents are given, then the system should have a ability to recognize whether the particular audio is in English, French or Chinese or Tamil. So different multi-language. So the language has to be identified. Here the outcome, possible outcome may be many numbers, not restricted with two. And then similarly, when we want to give an opinion, in the case of the opinion mining, the person have a choice to give an opinion about a product, either a like, hate or neutral. Here the class labels are going to be three. So likewise, depending upon the application, whatever we are going to take, we can apply either binary classification or multi-class classification. So these are the some of the different types of classification. So coming to the classification example, so I have taken here as a cancer diagnosis as a classification example. Okay, so here, wait a minute. Sorry. Okay, now we will take an example for a classification. So here I have taken a cancer diagnosis as a classification. See here, for a cancer diagnosis is a task assigned. So how to recognize the cancer? So this is a training data we are supplied. So patient ID and number of tumors. Okay, so and then what is an average area? What is the average area of the size of your tumor, and what is the density? So these are the some of the features, some of the data that is given supplied for the cancer diagnosis, and we try to predict whether the cancer is diagnosed or not, whether it is a malignant or benign. So these are the two different class label, whether the through which the cancer is being diagnosed. So if it is malignant or if it is benign. So we try to find out if these parameters are given as an input, then the class label is a malignant. So if this kind of data is given as an input, then the class label is a benign. So likewise, if this set of input is given to the system as a training data, so your machine will be learning. So your classifier will be learned. So it will learn some sort of information. So for this set of inputs, what is the class label? So input data is being correlated with the class label. So how they are related, what kind of relationship exists. So some sort of logic will be applied for learning a classifier. So for learning a classifier, we can go with many number of learning algorithms to learn the training data. So of course, we know that the training data is composed of input along with the class label. So here the inputs are patient ID, number of tumors, average area, average density. These are the inputs, and the class label is a diagnosis. So the classifier will learn by means of applying some sort of a mathematical logic or some algorithm. So based upon the information it has learned, it will build a classifier. So a model will be generated. So we are going to call this model as a classifier model, and then this classifier model, whether it is a when we this particular model will be deployed for generating a new class label for an unseen data. So whenever a test data is given, so see here, the test data only we are going to give an input alone. So we are not giving a class label, whether it is a Maligent or benign, we have not given. Okay, so in that case, this particular classifier model should have an ability to predict the class label for the given set of data. Okay, so it will find out the class label. So by means of applying, the model can be deployed, okay, to process this test data to find out the class label, correct class label for the data given, test data given. Okay, so the likewise, we are going to, some unseen data is supplied. The classifier model should predict the accurate data. So the accuracy should be measured. So that depends upon the algorithm what we are using for developing our model. So if the model algorithm is strong, then it can able to generate a more accurate data. So even a 99% of accuracy can be achieved by means of many number of algorithms. So we will be seeing many number of algorithms that can be used for developing our classifier model. So this is an ultimate task of your classifier model, how it is going to generate a appropriate class label for a given test data. I think this example is understood to you. Okay. Now coming to the regression. So in the regression analysis, so we are regression is one of the mathematical technique where the predictor variable and continuous response variables are given as an input. So here we are given an input variables, that is, and then we are also given a of course we know that for any supervised learning model, we are going to supply the target or the actual outcome. Okay, what is a target or outcome, expected outcome. Okay, but these informations are given to the system, and it is the responsibility of the regression technique to find out the relationship between the variables that allows to predict an outcome. So whenever already the input is supplied, so the regression will try to analyze the relationship between the given input and target, and accordingly it will apply to the new situation to predict the outcome. So here the regression, what we are going to say that it is try to find out the relationship among the independent variables. So for example, we are going to call the regression as, of course, it is a supervised learning method where input variables X and output variable Y is being supplied to the system, provided that X and Y are going to be an independent variable. We try to find out the output y equal to f of x. Some function is going to be applied with respect to x to generate y. So you can apply any number of mathematical function that can be applied on an input x, and accordingly we can generate an output y. So this is a very basic principle of the regression. So the regression normally used for many number of applications where we want to predict the amount of rainfall. Something, suppose we want to find out the amount of the rainfall, suppose we want to find out the height of the person, when we want to find out the price of the house in a specific city, value of the stock. So there are n number of applications where this regression technique is applied. So if you see this particular diagram, there are the data objects are going to be represented in a two-dimensional space where x and y are going to be taken as a dimension. So input is given, x is a input values that is given in an x-axis, and y is going to be the predicted output. So what is the training data is being represented in a form of a two-dimensional way. So whenever a new data point is given, so the y value will be automatically predicted through the regression. So here this particular diagram shows the linear regression where there is a straight line that discriminates different data points. So there must be a less number, the error must be very less. Okay, mean square error should be less from this particular linear line from the data objects. So if the data object is somewhere located here, then it is error will be more. So the distance between the data objects and this particular linear line is very important thing for finding out the accuracy of the regression. So this is a regression. This can be applied. There are many number of regression algorithms that can be applied for many number of applications. Now coming to the okay, what are all the supervised machine learning algorithms that are popularly used? So of course, some people may be knowing about there are many number of applications, many number of algorithms are there. So these are all the some of the algorithms, supervised machine learning algorithms that are available. Okay, so linear regression. So of course, for regression analysis for any type of application that requires a supervised regression method, then we can apply this linear regression. Okay, suppose we want to find out the sales for the next week. So we can, when we want to forecast something, we can apply this linear regression where we are going to use a where the data objects, where the values are going to be discriminated through the regression line. And of course, decision tree. So decision trees are also one of the supervised machine learning algorithm, especially used for classification. Okay, so it is one of the classification algorithm where we want to classify either the decision tree can be applied both for a binary classification as well as the multiple multi-label classifications. So you can apply a decision tree. So there are n number of applications with respect to decision tree, ID3, CART. Okay, so the decision CART, if you take, it may be applied both for a classification as well as the regression related applications. So here we are going to make use of some sort of standard parameters such as Gini index, information gain, and entropy. These mathematical calculations are there to construct a decision tree. So where the data is being bifurcated, tree-like structure will be constructed to find out the different types of data given to a system. And then naive Bayes. It is one of the important probabilistic based method that is normally used for supervised classification algorithm. So for supervised classification algorithm, for classifying anything, for example, if you want to classify a mail as a good mail or spam mail, we can apply a naive Bayes classification. Also here binomial and multinomial classifications are supported by means of a naive Bayes. So it is one of the popular algorithms. And k nearest neighbor, so it is one of the similarity based algorithm where we can able to find out the similarity that exists between the different data objects by means of this k nearest neighbor algorithm. And of course, SVM support vector machine plays a very important role with respect to the classification task. So the discriminating power of the SVM is going to be very much helpful for any number of applications. So it is also used for regression as well as the classification task. So SVM hyperplane. So we for any of the algorithm, when we want to implement any of the algorithm, the mathematical foundations or mathematical models are very important for implementing these kind of machine learning algorithms. So here the hyperplane concept, though the data objects are discriminated through the hyperplane. So we can have a hyperplane, linear hyperplane, as well as a non-linear perpendicular hyperplane to discriminate the data objects. So likewise, the learning is taking place with respect to SVM. So for all these algorithms are used for generating a classification model. Okay, machine learning model. Another one is a random forest. So of course, we are going to discuss this random forest in third day. SVM, we are going to discuss in the second day. Okay, decision tree also we are going to discuss in the third day. So what is a Python implementation of decision tree, SVM, and random forest? We are going to be discussing in the next 2 days using a COVID-19 data set. So random forest is nothing but an ensemble learning method where many number of weak decision trees are combined to give a good result. So for that, we are going to combine many number of weaker decision trees and then to give a better output, so that efficiency of the model can be improved. So it is one of the ensemble. We are going to call that learning as an ensemble learning, where this random forest is applied. So another important learning supervised learning method is a linear discriminant analysis. So this particular linear discriminant LDA method is normally used for dimensionality reduction. We will be discussing what is a dimensionality reduction so in future. So whenever we want to simplify, so whenever there are many data are available, when we want to reduce the dimensions of the data from high to low, then we must need some sort of application. So one of the applications are linear discriminant analysis. So there are a lot of LDA methods are there, latent semantic analysis. Okay, so many number of algorithms are that depends upon the application. The LDA method can be applied. How the large dimensional data can be projected to a low dimensional data. So that can be done by means of a linear discriminant analysis. And then of course neural networks. So neural network is one of the very popular supervised machine learning algorithm which is used for serves as a basic building block for a deep learning algorithm. So in nowadays, advanced deep learning algorithms are created. The base for the deep learning algorithm is neural networks. So there are many number of neural networks algorithms are there. Some of them are perceptron. Perceptron is a very basic model. It mimics the operations of the human brain. So how the human operations of the human brain are going to be modeled. So that can be done by means of a perceptron, and then we can have a multi-layer perceptron. So the advanced, so this perceptron is going to be applied only a linear data set. So whenever we want to worry about the linear classification, so we can apply this perceptron. So when we want to worry with the non-linear discrimination or non-linear classification, so we can make use of this MLP. So here accordingly there are several parameters are involved such as learning rate. So you can improve the learning rate. So there are many number of layers such as input layer, hidden layer and output layers are there. So depending upon the number of layers, the accuracy of the classification will be good. And then convolution neural network, of course, it is applied in many number of machine learning applications, many number of control operations, many number of IoT applications. We are using this convolution neural networks. So these are all the some of the algorithms that are generated from the neural network concepts. Similarly, similarity learning. So when we want to find out the plagiarism of the document, so we can apply a similarity based learning method. How two documents are going to be similar, how any two objects are going to be similar. For that, we can able to make use of the similarity learning methods. So these are all the some of the supervised machine learning algorithms that can be used for developing a classification models. And then next, we will take a typical example for a supervised machine learning algorithm. That is nothing but a naive Bayes. So here, even though there are many number of algorithms, I have taken here only one algorithm so that I can explain this in a detailed manner. So what is a naive Bayes algorithm? So normally this is a supervised machine learning algorithm, especially it is meant for performing a classification task. So now this naive Bayes is a probabilistic based algorithm. Okay, so it is a probabilistic based algorithm where we are going to apply a probabilistic concept here. So here the main algorithm, the main heart of the naive Bayes algorithm is Bayes theorem. So we are going to use a Bayes theorem for a learning task. So here what we are going to say, the Bayes theorem is nothing but the probability of the event will occur given that another event has already occurred. So if the, see here, if you take this particular probability as a conditional probability, so the conditional probability of A given B. So B is an input given to the, okay, but B is already known, from which we are going to find out the A. Okay, so this is a known, and this is from the known data we are going to generate another data. If this particular event occur, then there is a higher probability for this event, higher probability for the another event to occur. So they are provided that A and B are independent events. So if B, for example, if you take a classification task, B is going to be a data. For this data, what is the class label? If the B is a data, means what is the class label for the that particular data? So we try to find out the class for the data. This is nothing but a conditional probability. And then Bayes theorem, when we apply the Bayes theorem, so the theorem states that what is the probability of B under A? So what is the data for a given class? So what is the data? No, already what are all the data present in that particular class? So that is nothing but a prior probability. So we are going to find out the likelihood. So what is the probability of B under A? So we are going to have this. Okay, and then P of A. So what is the probability? Individual probability of the class divided by individual probability of the data. So these things we are going to Bayes theorem is going to be applied with respect to the training data. Okay, so here see the parameters. So P of A given B is a posterior probability. So we are trying to find out A given B. So what is a class for a given data? That is nothing but a posterior probability. So normally we are going to have a, so whenever there are many number of, there is a chance for class may be yes or no. For example, a mail is given as an input. If the mail, the system has to analyze whether the mail is a good or bad. So what is the possibility? Probability for mail to be good. That is nothing but a posterior probability. What is the probability of mail to be bad? So we are going to generate that kind of probability. That is a posterior probability. And then P of B given A is the likelihood. So the probability of data B given that class A was true. Already what are all the data available with respect to that particular class. So this can be learned from the training data. Okay, and then what is the class prior probability? Okay, so without data, what is the probability of the class? So this is nothing but without class, what is the probability of data? So these informations, so we are going to generate. Simply, we are going to apply this Bayes theorem with respect to the training data for generating our model. Okay, classification model. Then the model can be deployed for testing data, new testing data. See this example. So here, example for an A-based algorithm. Time 1.5 hours. 1.5 hours. Okay, sorry. Okay, practical session. So example for an A-based algorithm. So we should be very fast because already time out. Please be patient. Okay. And the algorithm is naive because it assumes that all the variables are independent of each other. Okay. So we will take a real-time example. So if we want to predict the status of play using a variable weather. So here the two values are given. So the weather conditions are given as an input. So whether we can play or not. So two different class labels are there, whether yes or no. So if the weather is sunny, then the play will be no. If the weather is overcast, then play will be yes. So we are trying to predict whether yes or no based upon the weather as a input parameter. So if a new, if a new data without a class label is given to a system, test data is given. If weather equal to sunny means whether we can play or not, we want to take that decision. So we want to find out the class label if weather is sunny. So what is the probability for whether we can play or not? How we are going to do this? So for this, we want to determine the outcome, whether the play is yes or no. We want to generate either two. Only there are two desired output, either yes or no. We want to find out. So already given input is weather is sunny. Okay, so this is a given task. So we try to make use of the training algorithm. So we are going to apply our Bayes formula. So for generating a Bayes formula, we are trying to calculate the prior probabilities. Okay, and then likelihood. So here, what is the likelihood? What is the probability of sunny? That is, if the weather is sunny means, what are all the probabilities of generating an yes as a class label? Okay, so whether the play is yes, what is the probability? What is the probability of whether is sunny, whether we can play or not? No. What is the probability of class as a no for a sunny? So these two probabilities we are trying to find out. And then we are going to find out the maximum probability. So see here. So if you take this particular probability of yes given sunny, if the weather is sunny, whether we can play, yes, what is the probability of whether we can play? Okay, whether we can play or not. So yes, if it, what is the probability of yes? So here we try to find out the you apply the Bayes formula for learning. So sunny given yes. So what are all the known values for the yes? We try to find out, and what is the probability of yes divided by probability of sunny. So we are going to have relating only two different parameters. Okay, two different value, whether sunny, yes, two different value we are going to have. See here 3/9. So what is the probability of yes sunny, probability of sunny given yes? Okay, so we try to find out what are all the values of the yes. So totally there are 9 values, possible values of yes. So in the denominator you put a 9. So Sunny and yes. So you try to find out Sunny and yes. 1, 2, and then 3. Only 3 values. Sunny yes. The other values are Sunny and no. So that is the combination of Sunny with yes combination. So 3. So 3 divided by 9 multiplied by what is the probability of yes? So total number of yes is nothing but 9. Okay, well, 9 yes values are there. Class labels 9 entries are there with yes divided by total number of data. So totally we have taken a 14 number of data. So you take like this and then divided by probability of Sunny. So what is the probability of Sunny? So totally how many data is having a Sunny? So 1, 2, likewise you count, there will be a 5 values of Sunny divided by 14. Okay, so we will be generating a totally 5 Sunny, out of which 3 are going to be yes and 2 is going to be no. So we are going to generate a probability. The value is nothing but a, when you solve this equation, you get a 0.60. Similarly, what is the probability of Sunny with respect to no? Similarly, you apply. Okay. Okay. Next, suppose similarly you find out the probability for Sunny with no. What is the probability of Sunny with input as no? So you similarly you try to count all the number of data and the probability is 0.40 value. Now you try to find out the maximum posterior probability. This is a posterior probability whenever the outcome is yes. This is a posterior probability with the outcome is no. So we try to compare these two values. So here the maximum probability value is whenever the Sunny with the class label yes is having a more probability. Now you predict for this particular Sunny whether the outcome of the play is yes. So likewise, we are going to apply a probability function to generate the outcome. So it is a very simple algorithm. So here we have involved only a one variable as an input. So likewise, we can generate a many complex applications. So I think you understood about this particular concept. Okay, so that is nothing but a classification algorithm. So we have taken a one simple example for our classification task. Now we will get into a unsupervised machine learning algorithm. So here the unsupervised machine learning algorithm, here it is the process by which we are making a machine to learn a hidden pattern in the data. So we try to, machine is allowed to learn a hidden pattern in the data without any support. So we are not giving any labeled information to the machine. It automatically learn the hidden pattern in the data. That is nothing but an unsupervised. That is the major difference between supervised and unsupervised. So labeled information will be provided in the supervised, but the labeled information is not provided with respect to the unsupervised. So here, mathematically, we have only an input data x, and there is no correspondence with respect to the output variable. Our task is to find out what kind of similarities that exist between the values, input data. So there are n number of input data is given to the system. So there may be some sort of similarities. There we can have several other parameters. So what is the similarity between many number of objects? What is the density? What are all the patterns involved? These kind of things can be used for classification. That is learning. Okay, suppose if the input is given, many number of objects are given, your model should have a capability to group the data as by means of some sort of similarity or some sort of logic will be applied. There is no desired output is given, the model will be automatically group the data into many number of groups. So here the three categories of data are available, objects are available. So accordingly, it will be grouping the data into three different groups. So this is a very simple logic behind the unsupervised machine learning. Coming to the types of unsupervised machine learning, so three different types of unsupervised machine learnings are there. One of the important thing is nothing but a clustering, where it is applied for many number of applications. the clustering concept is used. So in many number of medical applications, so it is applied. So even association rule mining, especially with respect to the recommendation system that is used by Amazon or any type of online shopping, we can make use of this association rule. And then third one is a dimensionality reduction technique, especially for feature generation or feature selection. We can make use of this dimensionality reduction technique. So here clustering is a process of grouping data into many number of groups. So we are trying to find out the patterns or relationship exist between the data objects, and accordingly they are grouped into many clusters. Association rule: if two inputs are given, then we can infer another value. Okay, so what kind of association exists between A, B, and C? If A and B are there, then we can able to say that the C is also there. Okay, so there is some sort of association exists between A, B, and C. This kind of rule. So some sort of inference rule can be applied for association rule mining, and for dimensionality. So for if we have a 3D image, so we can able to reduce its higher dimensional data to a low dimensional data. So for these are all comes under the unsupervised machine learning. So coming to the clustering, so one of the important tasks, it is a process of grouping a given data into different types of clusters. So here the cluster, some sort of similarities may be used for extracting the hidden pattern in the data. So that is nothing but a clustering. So the objects within a single cluster are similar between them. So objects in one particular cluster will be more similar to each other, and the objects in the different clusters are dissimilar. This is one of the important criteria. So based upon the similarity only, we can able to find out the quality of your cluster. Okay, so example of a clustering where this cluster can be applied. So for example, we want to group the customer by their purchasing behavior, or we want to cluster the image with the same person. Okay, so images with the same person. So here this kind of facilities available in our Android mobile phone. So we can able to classify the images. That is, we can find out the person. So if you want, if you click one particular image with a particular person, the images with the same person will be generated as an output. And then similarly, we can able to move, group our movie based upon the rating, okay, given by the movie reviewers. So these are the some of the applications where the clustering can be applied. So this is a typical example. The data objects are scattered like this. So we can apply a clustering technique to cluster 3 different groups. So there may be a hidden patterns. That implicit patterns are going to be identified by your clustering technique, and it will generate 3 different groups. Okay, so next one is an association rule mining. It is one of the attractive method that is normally applied in the case of many number of recommendation systems. Okay. So when we talk about the association, so we are trying to find out what kind of co-occurrence of items in the collection. So if if there is a X, then there is also Y. So for example, if a people buy a product X, then they also having a chance to buy Y. If a person buy a bread, there is a chance for buying a butter. Okay, so what that kind of co-occurrence of items we are trying to mine with respect to the association rule mining. The task is going to be an unsupervised machine learning technique. So here also we are discovering an interesting relationship between the variables in a large database. For example, people, those who buy a new home, mostly likely to buy a new furnitures. Okay, so there is an association among the home as well as the furniture. Similarly, for Amazon, Amazon, if you take for online shopping, so there are many number of products are brought together. Okay, so if a person buy a laptop, along with that, there is a higher probability that he can buy a laptop cover or laptop bag or external hard disk likewise. So here the customers who viewed this item also viewed this product. So this kind of recommendation will be supported by Amazon or eBay. Many number of online applications are using this kind of facilities. So these things happen because of your association rule mining. Next one is a dimensionality reduction. So dimensionality reduction is also one of the unsupervised machine learning method, which is used to exploit the inherent structure in the data. So whenever a large amount of data is given, so it can be simplified. At the same time, it should convey the fruitful information. So accordingly, the data can be, the dimensions of the data can be reduced to a high dimensional data will be reduced to a low dimensional data. This kind of, this can be normally applied with respect to the visualization techniques. So here for customer relationship management, text mining, image retrieval, even for a face recognition, handwritten digit recognition, for these kind of applications, we can apply this dimensionality reduction for feature engineering. So example for a dimensionality reduction, see here, there are many number of social media. So if you take an internet, there are many number of web pages, many number of emails, there are many number of digital libraries are there. So many number of documents are involved. So these are the document sources where we collect the documents. Again, there may be many number of documents. There are many number of terms and it will be categorized into many number of class labels. So we are trying to convert, not many number of, even though there are many number of terms involved with all these types of documents, only few text are going to be, for few terms are going to be fruitful. So we try to extract those kind of terms as a features by means of applying our document reduction technique. So to classify an unlabeled document into a categories, that is nothing but your task. So we are trying, having a challenges, thousands of terms are available. We are going to apply a dimensionality reduction technique to reduce the number of terms. So this is a document term matrix that is applied for classification. Okay, now. So here many number of algorithms are there for clustering. So very popular algorithm is a K-mean clustering algorithm. Agglomerative clustering algorithms are there. For association rule mining, for a sequence, for frequent pattern identification. So we are going to use a priori algorithm and E-CLAT algorithm. So these two algorithms are used for frequent pattern mining or sequence mining. This association mining algorithms are used. And then for dimensionality reduction, PCA and the LDA, these two methods can be applied for dimensionality reduction techniques. So here I have taken a K-mean clustering algorithm as an example for a unsupervised learning. So for developing this K-mean clustering algorithm, so the input data, first thing we have to decide about how many number of clusters we are going to have. So we want to determine the how many number of clusters. So we are going to call this K as a number of clusters where the data has to be grouped. And for each cluster, we want to find out the pivot element, that is nothing but a centroid. Okay, so the mean value of any particular randomly we can choose this centroid, and then we are trying to calculate the distance between the object to the centroid. So if the distance between the object and the centroids are minimum, then they are going to be grouped into a single cluster. Okay, until all the objects are grouped, we are going to do this task iteratively. Okay, so if there is no changes in the cluster, then we can stop our algorithm. That is, algorithm converges in that aspect. So this is a very simple logic. So these are the processing steps with respect to K-mean clustering algorithm. So you initialize the number of clusters as a K. And then we are going to step 2, making a partition that organize the data into a place, K clusters. So we randomly do the following. So first K data points as a single element cluster. So you randomly choose some sort of data objects in a single cluster. So the remaining data objects into a different clusters, and you try to choose a centroid for, you randomly choose the data objects into one group, and another randomly choose two data objects in another group. You choose a centroid, and you try to find out the distance, So we try to find out the similarity of the objects from the centroid in each clusters you try to find out. For this, you can make use of Euclidean distance or cosine similarity to find out the distance between the data object and the centroid. So the data will be in a cluster will be moved to a closest centroid. So whenever the distance is minimum, then cluster pertaining to that particular centroid will be, in that particular cluster, the data objects will be moved. So this kind of, this is an iterative process, and these steps are continued until your algorithm converges. Okay. So it's a real world example I have taken here. So here I have taken a medicine. Okay, so there are 4 different medicines as an object. So 2 different attributes are given. So how we are going to cluster this 4 number of medicines is very important thing. This is a training data I have given. So weight index and pH values are supplied. So based upon this value, the medicines are going to be grouped into a cluster. First, we have to fix the number of clusters. This is an input data given. So how many clusters we have to take a decision. Suppose we are going to have two different clusters. So initially I am taking a medicine A and medicine B as in one cluster, and medicine C and medicine D in another cluster. So likewise, how this algorithm works, we will see. So initial value of a centroid. Suppose we use a medicine A and medicine B as a first centroid. Okay, I have taken two different centroids. So you plot the values. Okay, so the first medicine 1 1. So your pH value and index value, weight index is 1 1. Accordingly, you plot the value. So 1 1, that is 2 1, and then similarly 4 3, and then 5 4. So based upon the input data, you plot this particular graph, and I'm going to indicate the centroid as a star. Okay, so initially I have taken a 2 centroid value. Now you calculate a distance between the centroid and the object. So here the one object is present here. It is hidden. Okay, well, there is a blue color object. You may be seeing that blue color object. So you try to find out the medicine 1. Okay, with this centroid. Similarly, you try to find out the distance between the object and the second centroid value. And then this object and the centroid. You find out this object and this centroid. So you compare the values. You find out the distance between both the centroid, okay, object and the centroid, and you try to find out the minimum distance, which you try to find out. See here, you apply a Euclidean distance. Calculate the distance between cluster centroid to the object using a Euclidean distance formula. From I have shown a medicine C. So the medicine C, or the value of the medicine C is 4,3. Okay, so I have to calculate with respect to the first centroid. The first centroid value is 1 and 1. So in the previous graph, it is shown that the first centroid value is 1 and 1, and the second centroid value is 2 and 1. So you have to apply. So you make it in the formula. So the distance, Euclidean distance formula, you put 4 minus 1, the whole square, plus 3 minus 1. If you give, the value is 3.61. Similarly, for the second centroid value 2, 1, you apply the same distance formula with this value, medicine C. You will be getting this value. So when we see this, so when the distance between the medicine C, that is the object C, is very much close to the centroid 2 when compared to the centroid 1, because the minimum distance is nothing but centroid 2. So similarly, you put a distance matrix, you create a distance matrix, first iteration number 0. So this kind of matrix will be generated. So this is for medicine 1, this is a medicine 2, this value is for medicine 3, C, and this is a medicine B. So accordingly, we are going to have two different groups. So now we are having it. Okay, so here likewise, we are going to have the step number 2. Now minimum distance. So accordingly, we are going to group. So here I'm going to have two different clusters. Only K or K value is 2. So we can have at any case two different clusters. So see here, since time is going on, I will explain with this particular diagram. So only two different clusters. In the first cluster, there will be only one object, that is medicine A. In the next cluster, there will be 3 objects. So medicine B, medicine C, and medicine D. So you take an average of these 3 objects. The average will be having a value, that is nothing but a centroid. Now this is a new centroid generated. So previously the centroid was here. Now the centroid changes from this location to this location. Now you try to find out the distance between each object from that centroid, and you iterate this process. So the next value that generated is, so this is nothing but a new value generated, distance values generated. So we have taken a 2 group, C1, 1, 1, the C2. The next cluster will be having a 2 different value. These are the centroid values we have taken. This is a matrix generated. Likewise, you iterate all these process. So finally, we will be generating n number of iterations. So you repeatedly you adjust the value of the centroid, and you find out the distance between the object and the centroid. This iteration will be takes place repeatedly, and finally you will be getting a 2 different group. So medicine A, it will come under the group 1. Medicine B will also come under the cluster 1. Similarly, medicine C will come under the cluster. So this is an outcome of your cluster. So only there are 2 number of clusters. So accordingly, the objects will be grouped into a particular cluster. So I have taken a very simple example. This can be applied to complex applications. Next, we will discuss with the reinforcement machine learning. So here it is a goal-oriented learning and a decision-making system. We are going to call the reinforcement learning as an automatic goal-oriented learning and decision learning. So here the major elements are going to be an agent, okay, and environment. So it is for solving a complex problems. We can make use of this agent-based approach. The agent will be continuously interacting with an environment, and it will receive the reward whenever the action is success. So the agent will be interacting with an environment and some sort of action it will take. If the action is positive, then the agent will be rewarded with a positive signal, and if the action is negative, then no reward will be given. Okay, so this is an activity given for reinforcement learning. So that will be clearly explained here. I will take some example for reinforcement learning. That is Google Active Query Question Answering System. It's one of the even a chatbot if you take. So it is one of the attractive applications of reinforcement learning. So here the Google Active Question Answering System makes use of this learning system. For example, if you ask this AQA bot, okay, so active query answering bot as a question, what is the birthday date of Abdul Kalam? If you ask the question like this, the bot will reformulate this question in different ways. Okay, so the question will be reformulated in different ways. That is, what is the birth year of Abdul Kalam? When was Kalam born? So these kind of questions are going to be with respect to the Google Active Question Answering System. So this reformulation will be taking place with respect to the reinforcement. Okay, until you get a correct answer, we are trying to reformulate all the questions. So next we will go to the, so these are the, whatever we have discussed is the many different types of machine learning techniques. Now we are going to have a design of a machine learning system. Design of a machine learning system. So coming to the steps. So I think you are all thorough with the different types of the machine learning techniques and where those machine learning techniques can be applied. Okay, now we will come to the next stage. So once we have thorough in the algorithm, so how the model will be. So everything is after knowing all these things, now we will come to the designing of the machine learning system. So what are all the steps involved in designing a machine learning system? There are, first step is a gathering of data. Suppose if you want to design a machine learning system for any type of application, data gathering is a first step. Okay, so we are going to collect the data from different number of sources and we try to pre-process those data. There may be some sort of noise, some data may not be clearly specified. So in that case, we need some sort of pre-processing operations applied to the data, and we are selecting a more useful data from the large collection. So for that, we are going to use the feature selection methods. Okay, and then we have what kind of classification algorithm or any type of machine learning algorithm, what we are trying to choose. So the right machine learning model has to be chosen through this particular step. And finally, we are going to evaluate our model by means of making a prediction. So these are all the design steps with respect to designing any new application. Okay, so for data gathering, of course, we are trying to collect the data from different sources. So the domain knowledge is very, very important for data gathering. And for pre-processing, so we are trying to eliminate the noise. Okay, so some missing values we are trying to handle the missing values, and some sort of unformatted, unusable format of data may be there. So we have to work with these kind of data in the case of a deep data pre-processing. So the data pre-processing operations will be depending upon the application what we are using. Okay, so for example, if there is a missing data, we can delete a particular row from the data set, and we can calculate a mean. For example, we want an consolidated abstract view of the data, then we can calculate the mean of a given number of values. So in that way, we are going to handle a missing data. So normally in the pre-processing stage, we are going to divide our data set into training and testing. So these we can many number of data sets are available as a in a website, in a web. Okay, we can able to download any number of data set that depends upon the application for our example. So these are all the some of the websites where we can download the data set. So while pre-processing your data set, we are going to bifurcate your data set into training and testing. So normally 80% of data may be used for training, and the remaining 20% may be testing. So we must have only few test data. Then next one is the feature selection. So we are going to generate a relevant feature. So the feature selection is one of the important step. This is going to decide about the discriminating power of your classification model. So whenever the features are good, then the accuracy of the predicting accuracy of the classifier will be more. Okay, so the classifier behavior will be good whenever the relevant features are selected. So it is play a very major role. So for any applications, so we have to take a very much importance in generating a features. So for that, we can make use of the dimensionality reduction technique for selecting a subset of features from the large amount of the features. In some situation, we can add more number of features. So if there are less number of features, we can't able to learn, then we can add many number of features. Some of the feature selection